The ortho ward just admitted a hot guy who broke his leg falling off his bike, and I was the nurse assigned to insert his urinary catheter. He was so handsome, it was making my head spin. I probed, "So, how about I come back again tomorrow?" The handsome guy's face turned red, and he coldly looked away. Too bad. Such a fine piece of work, and I only get to see it once. The next day, the ward assigned a different nurse to him, but he sent her away. The head nurse called me over, hesitating before she spoke. He said it's enough for one person to have seen it. At the nurse's station, "Chloe, did you hear? The ward just got a super hot new patient," Mandy said, wiggling her eyebrows at me. "I just saw him. He looks like a freaking movie star." "A movie star? My favorite." "Really? What bed is he in?" I asked, delighted. "Bed 16. I heard he fell off his bike and broke his leg. You should find an excuse to go check him out." Oh my God, a surprise finally arrives to break up the monotony of work. I was overjoyed, already trying to think of an excuse. Just then, the head nurse pushed the door open. "Chloe, could you go to bed 16? The new patient, he needs a catheter." What? My jaw dropped. Is happiness coming this suddenly? I get to handle a movie star's catheter? On the way to bed 16, I was giving myself a pep talk. It's just one little tube. I was already a pro, handling 1,000 dicks a day. What haven't I seen? But the moment I saw the handsome guy, I still couldn't help but sigh in admiration. Hot! Genuinely hot. High nose bridge, fair skin. But for some reason, he looked familiar. I studied him for a moment. He was lying in bed, his leg already in a cast and suspended in the air. His expression was calm and composed, the very picture of a cool, handsome man. Until I took out the catheter. I cleared my throat professionally. Bed 16, I glanced at his name chart. Leo Vance, is that right? Leo nodded. Yes. Are you here alone? Yeah, my family is out of state and my classmates went back to class. I nodded, pretending to be busy with my tools. You can't move right now, so we need to insert a urinary catheter. Leo looked completely lost. I pointed at his pants. Take them off. Leo's face instantly flushed crimson. He pulled his pants down, turning his face away from me. As my hands were busy, I snuck a peek at his area. Well now, it's quite large. After finishing the prep work, I got a good grip on him, but I struggled to insert the catheter after several tries. The situation was getting a little awkward. I gave a weak laugh. You know, your foreskin is a bit long. Once your leg heals, you might want to consider getting it circumcised. Leo. That seemed to make it even more awkward. The catheter was finally in. As I cleaned up, I tentatively spoke again. So, how about I come back again tomorrow? Leo's face turned red and he coldly looked away. Too bad. Such a fine piece of work and I only get to see it once.
A hot guy arriving on the ward is a major event. Soon, every doctor and nurse knew about it. The nurses were all eager to get a look, so the head nurse thoughtfully arranged for everyone to take turns. The next day, the young nurse who went to disinfect Leo's leg came back looking miserable. The head nurse found me, at a loss for words. Her eyes flickered. Bed 16 said, "It's enough for one person to have seen it. From now on, you'll be handling all of Leo's catheter care." I was ecstatic, but I couldn't let myself smile. The other nurses were all looking utterly dejected. Suppressing a grin, I grabbed my tools and headed for bed 16. When I got there, I found that Leo had thoughtfully already taken his pants off. I was focused on disinfecting when Leo suddenly spoke. "It's much better today." Oh, he must be bored all by himself, I thought. He's making small talk with me. My hands didn't stop. That's good to hear. Don't come tomorrow. Is he shy? I spoke righteously. How could I not? This is my job. Leah paused. Then, after a moment, spoke again. No, really, it must be tiring for you to run back and forth every day. He's worried about me. I feigned a shy expression. Oh, it's not tiring at all. Just another day in the life of a worker bee. Leo fell silent. Wait, this atmosphere isn't right. I hesitantly looked up. Leo was looking at me with a puzzled expression, holding up his phone. The screen showed a call in progress. The contact name was Mom. He put her on speaker right in front of me. The auntie on the other end was still lecturing him. How can hospital food be any good? You just wait. I'll bring you food tomorrow. My world collapsed. I wanted to find a hole to crawl into. Leo's mother was still on the phone. Who was that just now? I didn't even bother to clean up. I threw everything onto the cart and made a run for it. Just before I left the room, I vaguely heard Leo say, "That was my nurse. But you know her?"
Know her? What does he mean, know her? I didn't dwell on it. I was really busy. The morning's awkwardness would probably be forgotten soon enough. I'll just pretend nothing happened. I went about my work as if everything was normal. In the afternoon, just as I finished my tasks, I heard Mandy calling me from the nurse's station. She mysteriously handed me a box. "Chloe, bed 16 century something." I took it and saw a box of fresh ruby red cherries. The way she looked at me had changed. "You work fast, huh? You're catching feelings for the hot guy while cathing him?" I blushed and covered her mouth. "What are you talking about?" Luckily, no one else was around. I quickly pushed Mandy into the office. Looking at the cherries in my hand, I couldn't help but smile softly. During my internship on the Ortho ward, I've seen plenty of patients. Most are polite and respectful, but a small number will make unreasonable demands and order us around. Every day, the goal is just not to get a complaint filed against you. Seeing this box of cherries now, I felt a genuine warmth. But if only this morning's incident hadn't happened, I would be much happier. With that thought, I divided the cherries in half, washed them, removed the stems, and headed to Leo's room. I pushed the door open. There was someone else by Leo's bed. A girl with delicate features and a bright smile was sitting by his bedside, chatting with him. The girl had her back to me, her tone a little complaining. "Leo, what happened to you? How could you fall just from riding a bike? If your auntie hadn't told me, I would have never known. You didn't even tell your best bud. Are you treating me like an outsider?" They seemed very close. For a moment, I didn't know whether to enter or leave. The hospital room had 2 beds. Bed 15 was closer to the door, and bed 16 was by the window. In the few seconds I stood frozen at the door, the old grandmother in bed 15 saw me. "Oh, Chloe dear, what brings you here now?" she exclaimed. Leo and the girl looked over. I smiled and walked over to bed 15 to check on the grandmother's condition. "Grandma, are you feeling any better today?" The grandmother grabbed my hand and chattered a bit, and I listened patiently. A moment later, she noticed the cherries in my hand. "Chloe, what are these?" I smiled. "These are for bed 16. He can't get out of bed, so I helped him wash them." Leo looked over, a hint of surprise in his eyes. The girl also turned to size me up, her gaze probing. I held up the washed cherries, my expression unchanged. "Bed 16, thank you for the cherries." The girl suddenly spoke. "Oh, the nurse even washed some for you." She smiled sweetly. "Leo had me pick out the cherries. He said all girls probably like them. When we were little, Leo always loved giving people fruit. I told him I don't even like them anymore, but he still buys them." So they were childhood sweethearts. But why did she sound so passive-aggressive? I'm his catheter nurse, not a warrior for love. Worst case, I'll just find another hot guy to take care of. Seriously. I was feeling awkward and was about to find an excuse to leave when Leo suddenly spoke. "Don't listen to her nonsense. I bought the cherries specifically for you. It has nothing to do with her." His words made me pause, and his little childhood sweetheart smile froze. "Oh, why are you being so serious?" she laughed, trying to sound casual, but her tone betrayed her annoyance. She turned to me. "Nurse, my name is Lauren. I'll probably be coming here often from now on. If you need anything with anything, if you need any help with anything, just let me do it." She smiled, confident and bright. I smiled and nodded. Walking over to hand the cherries to Lauren, I lowered my eyes and left the room without looking back. On the third day of Leo's hospital stay, his catheter could be removed. I went to perform his morning care as usual. Without any ceremony, I yanked back his blanket. He was fully dressed. Leo quickly covered himself, his face flushing. "Nurse Chloe, can I have the catheter taken out today? Having you come every day, I finally looked up and met his gaze seriously. "You know, for us, handling this is no different from handling a piece of pork at the butcher's." That was a lie. A hot guy's is still heart-fluttering, but I put on a good act, my face a mask of professionalism. I looked down, signaling for him to take off his pants. "But you are recovering well, so if you want it removed, we can do it today. However," I paused, "have you prepared your crutches? Be careful when you go to the restroom with them." Leo obediently took off his pants, his ears turning bright red. He nodded, blushing. "A friend is bringing my crutches this afternoon." I acknowledged him and proceeded with the routine care. Sigh. I'll just admire his handiwork one last time. Then I carefully removed the tube. Even so, I couldn't ignore the texture. Soft and very springy. As I was secretly delighting in this, Leo spoke. His tone was serious. "What that girl said yesterday was emotional. Don't take it to heart. She's a neighbor I grew up with. My mom is out of state, so she insisted that she come check on me." In the time it took him to say those few sentences, I had already removed his catheter. He quickly pulled the blanket back over himself. I gathered my tools. "All right, you're all set. Be careful when you use the restroom on your own from now on. Don't fall again." I was about to leave, but Leo suddenly called out to me. "Nurse Chloe, I have to go to the bathroom again. Now?" My eyes widened. "There's a pair of crutches at the nurse's station. I'll go get them for you." "Someone already borrowed them." Then I'll go get someone else to help you." The look Leo gave me was a little pathetic, but I kind of have to go urgently. I choked. "All right then," I relented, walking over to him. "Take it slow. Put your arm around my shoulder." He slowly got up, carefully bending his right leg and draping his left arm around my neck. Leo was about 6'1", a good 2 heads taller than me. He was leaning almost half his body weight on me. His scorching skin pressed against me through his hospital gown, and my face grew warm. I supported him as we slowly made our way to the in-room restroom. He had been in the hospital for 2 or 3 days. I had expected him to smell a little, but surprisingly, he had a fresh, clean scent of soap. He saw me sniffing the air and paused. Then he gave me a deep look. "I've been cleaning myself every day." Now it was my turn to blush. I didn't dare look at him, mumbling unnaturally, "I didn't say you smelled." He glanced at me again. "That's exactly what you meant." With that, we reached the restroom. I was about to let go. "So you can go in by yourself?" He looked troubled. "I can't. I don't have the strength." Resigned, I supported him again. Let's go. After a few shuffling steps, we were finally in the restroom. I helped him to the urinal. I found a spot for him to lean on. "So, I'll go out now. Call me when you're done." He looked at me with feigned surprise. Didn't Nurse Chloe say that looking at this is just like looking at a piece of pork? Act. Just keep acting. My sharp eyes noticed his ears were practically bleeding red. I smiled. I placed my hand on his waist for support. "Fine, I'm not leaving. Hurry, pull it out. Nurse Chloe has a lot of things to do." At my words, Leo gave me a flat look, but his face flushed uncontrollably. He stared at me intently. "Are you really staying?" I froze. His right hand moved downward. Just as he was about to unzip his pants, I suddenly stammered, "Stop!" My face was burning. I couldn't even look at him. I bolted out of the restroom. "Dud," I pulled the door shut. "You call me when you're done." He let out a low chuckle. I stood at the door, trying to calm myself, but my face still felt scorching hot. A moment later, a faint sound of water came from the restroom. At first, it was a gentle trickle, but it quickly grew stronger. Ever the professional, it only took me a second to make an assessment. Strong stream, no splitting. Good kidneys, nice. My face, which had just started to cool down, grew hot again. From inside the restroom, Leo suddenly said, "I'm done." Hearing him, I paused for a moment to compose myself before opening the door. I poked my head in. Leo gave me a searching look. By now, my expression was back to normal. I went in and, in a businesslike manner, helped him up, preparing to slowly head back out. He leaned on my shoulder, took a step, and then suddenly stopped. I looked at him, confused. "What's wrong?" He was silent. "I want to wash my hands." Okay, he's quite particular, but I couldn't help but laugh. He glanced at me as I helped him shuffle to the sink. "I told you I'm very clean." How can someone hold a grudge like that? After he washed his hands, I supported him as we shuffled step by step out of the restroom. Just as we cleared the doorway, we ran right into two people, Lauren and a woman in her 40s or 50s. We all froze. Only Leo acted as if nothing was wrong. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Leo's mom looked uncertain. I was going to the restroom and asked Nurse Chloe for help." Lauren's expression changed several times. Hearing this, she grew unhappy. "Leo, really, I told you I was coming today. Why would you bother an outsider?"
I froze. My supporting hand unconsciously lost its strength. Leo stumbled. Lauren quickly reached out to steady him, her eyebrows raised in a sharp line. "Don't you know how to take care of someone?" Before her words had even finished, he shook her hand off. "Outsider?" Leo raised an eyebrow. "What outsider?" "One is my nurse, the other is my mom. Out of the 3 people here, only one is an outsider." The unspoken words hung in the air. Lauren's face turned pale. "What are you talking about? We grew up together as childhood sweethearts. How am I an outsider?" Leo's mom was frantically trying to give him signals. He didn't even look at her. "Just because we grew up together means we're childhood sweethearts? There were so many kids in our neighborhood. By that logic, I'd have over 20 childhood sweethearts." Tears welled up in Lauren's eyes. She was so angry, she turned and shot me a glare before running off without looking back. What kind of tantrum is this little childhood sweetheart throwing? What does it have to do with me? I was unintentionally dragged into their drama. Suddenly, I didn't know if I should be supporting him or not. I wished I could just disappear. I patted Leo's mom, signaling her to take over. Leo's mom snapped back to reality. She quickly changed the subject. "You must be Nurse Chloe, right? I've heard from Leo that you've been taking great care of him." That wasn't wrong, but besides his leg, I had been giving extra special care to his member. I gave Leo a complicated look. Then I turned to his mom with a polite smile. "You're too kind. It's what we're supposed to do." Leo's mom grabbed my hand. "Nurse Chloe is so professional, has such a good personality, and is so pretty. Leo coughed, interrupting his mom. "Mom, she has to get back to work." His mom smiled warmly. Yes, we won't keep you from your work, Nurse Chloe." I smiled and turned to leave the room. Behind me, his mom was still chattering. "She's taken such good care of you. We have to properly thank the doctors and nurses when you're better." Leo let out a soft,
As the new year approached, the weather grew colder. The ortho ward admitted a lot of elderly patients who had fractured bones from slipping on icy roads. For a while, we were swamped. The old grandmother in bed 15 was discharged. A new male college student who broke his leg skiing took her place. As expected, the catheter duty fell to me again.
The head nurse called me over, smiling suggestively. "You have experience." Me. ... Who wants this kind of experience? I pushed the utility cart into the room. Leo was sitting up in bed reading a book. He looked up and saw me. His eyes lit up and he waved. I glanced at him without a word and went over to bed 15. The college student in bed 15 was a freshman from the local university named Ethan. He broke his leg on his very first time skiing. What a tragedy. When I went over, Ethan was quietly weeping. He looked at me with teary eyes. "Miss, I'm not going to be unable to walk again, am I?" He was crying like a very sad puppy. My heart softened a little and I comforted him in a gentle voice. "Of course not. It's just a fracture. You'll be fine in no time." As I was preparing my tools, I remembered something. The big brother in the bed next to you also hurt his leg. You can ask him if you don't believe me. Ethan's eyes lit up. "Really?" Kids are so easy to soothe. "Really," I said. My tone still gentle. "But first, take off your pants. I need to insert a catheter." Clang. Leo's book fell to the floor. I gave him a strange look. Then I looked back at Ethan. His face was completely red. He hesitated for a long time, still clutching the blanket tightly. I was getting impatient and was about to pull the blanket off myself when Leo suddenly spoke. "Nurse Chloe, could you help me pick up my book?" I had no choice but to turn around and pick up his book. But as I did, Leo suddenly leaned against me. "My leg is so sore. Nurse Chloe, can you take me for a walk?" I was taken aback. "But I still have to take care of bed 15. Bed 15, in bed 15, didn't wait for me to finish. "That's great, miss. Could you get a male nurse for me instead?" Leo gave him an approving look. Me? Where was I supposed to find a male nurse for him on such short notice? In the end, Mandy was the one who inserted his catheter. As I was helping Leo out of the room, I saw Mandy telling him to take off his pants. Ethan's face was beet red, and he shot me and Leo a resentful look. Leo said dryly, "Relax, we've all been through it." Hearing this, Ethan squeezed his eyes shut in misery. "Bro, are you really trying to comfort him? Just shut your mouth." I helped him out of the room. With the new year approaching, the hospital corridors were decorated with a few festive items. The red maple leaves outside the window rustled in the cold wind. Leo stopped. "The new year is almost here." I also stopped. Yeah. What does the new year mean? It means my internship is finally coming to an end. I felt like setting off fireworks in my heart, but then I thought about the guy next to me, who might not even be discharged by then. I comforted him. "You should be able to get out before the new year, just in time to celebrate the festivities." Leo gave me a flat look. My hospitalization coincided with final exams. I failed everything. I'll have to study over the break. I fell silent. Little mouth, just stay shut. I decided to become his silent walking support. He was on crutches, so I couldn't really help much. I just had to watch him and make sure he didn't fall. He was still walking with difficulty. Halfway through, it was clear he was losing strength. I couldn't help but remind him, "Don't rush, take it slow. Let's just call it a day here. Lean on me and I'll help you back to the room." A thin layer of sweat had formed on Leo's forehead. He nodded at my words, expertly draping his arm over my shoulder and leaning on me as we walked back. The heating in the corridor was strong, and his body was warm too. As Leo shuffled along, one foot in front of the other, he suddenly spoke. "Do you go out with your boyfriend after work?" I gave him a strange look. "We're so busy. We're too tired to move after work. Where would we find the energy to go out? Besides, in our profession, we're too busy to even think about dating. After a shift, all I want to do is go home and be by myself." My answer made Leo laugh. "True, you guys work very hard." As we were approaching his room, he spoke again. He stopped, frowning, as if he had been holding this in for a long time. "Nurse Chloe, don't you look a little familiar to you?" I paused for a second. Was he fishing for a compliment? I looked at his face, which bore a striking resemblance to a certain movie star. Under his expectant gaze, I nodded without hesitation. You look like Ryan Gosling. After that day, I suddenly got very busy. My attending physician needed me to provide some data for her clinical research. It also happened to be the end of my rotation in Ortho, so I went ahead and reported to my next department. I was so busy I was spinning. I didn't even have time to pack up my personal belongings from the break room. During that time, I would occasionally think of how angry Leo looked that day. He wouldn't even let me help him walk. Did I really forget something? But I searched my memory and came up with nothing. The day I went back to Ortho to pack my things, I passed by Leo's room and on a whim peeked inside. I found that Beth 16 had a new patient. I asked Mandy and found out that Leo had been discharged today. Oh well, I was originally going to ask him. Downstairs, I saw a familiar figure in the distance, Leo. He was wearing a black windbreaker all by himself. He was on crutches, but his tall, straight figure stood out in the crowd. I smiled and went over to greet him. See, I told you you'd be out before the new year. Leo saw me too. His mood seemed a bit low, his tone flat. Nurse Chloe, did you move to another department? I haven't seen you lately. Yes, I nodded with a smile. I've been busy with other things lately, so I didn't get a chance to tell you. I looked him over. Are you recovering well? No. No? I was stunned. Why not? He pursed his lips. Someone saw my... and then disappeared. How can anyone recover well from that? What was he talking about? My pupils dilated. I'm a nurse. I'm going to see many more people's members in the future. Leo paused. Leo seems even angrier now. He gritted his teeth. Do you really not remember me, or are you pretending not to? He stared at me, and it made my skin crawl. I quickly searched my brain again, but still came up empty. I probed, Can you give me a hint? The air seemed to stand still. Leo looked helpless. Forget it if you can't remember. He held out his hand to me. Give me your phone. I numbly handed him my phone. He typed in a number, dialed it, saved it, and handed it back to me. We have each other's numbers now. After adding Leo on WeChat, we would chat occasionally. Most of the time, we were just quiet presences on each other's contact lists. Looking through his feed, I found we actually had a lot in common. We were both from Philly. We both used to live in the Old City District. We were even in the same grade, but I scrolled through his entire feed and didn't see any mutual friends in the comments, nor could I think of any connection. The work in the cardiology department was relatively less hectic, but still busy. After the new year, the 6 of us from my dorm got together for the first time in a long time. We were all on the verge of being driven mad by our dissertations and internships. The moment we met, we started venting like crazy. To ease the bitterness of life, a roommate suggested going to a newly opened club in Fishtown to relax. When we were putting on our makeup, Leo suddenly messaged me. What are you busy with today? I thought for a long time and replied, writing my paper. Leo replied instantly. Before I could even read it, my roommate came over and confiscated my phone. Chloe, hurry up, we're all waiting for you. 5 eyes were pressuring me. I had no choice but to put on my makeup at 5 times the speed and head out. It wasn't until I was sitting with my roommates at the club that I saw the message Leo had sent. A friend of mine just opened a new club. Interested in coming to check it out? The moment I saw the message, I did feel a bit of panic. How should I put it? It felt like a student caught cheating by the exam proctor. But soon, a sliver of hope emerged. Maybe it's not the same club. My roommates, driven mad by the pressures of graduation, were already going wild, insisting on playing truth or dare. I thought about my shift tomorrow and the remaining 13 months of my internship. My vision went black. Live for today. Seize the day. What Leo, what river? Even the gods themselves would have to step aside. Our group of girls quickly went wild. After successfully egging on a losing roommate to confess her feelings to a hot guy at the next table, the bottle pointed at me. My roommates, whom I had long oppressed, were ready for revenge. See that hot guy at table 18 who looks like a young Leonardo DiCaprio? Chloe, go get his number. I looked in the direction my roommate was pointing. There did seem to be a few decent-looking guys over there, dressed to the nines. Before I could react, I was being pushed over. The lights flashed rapidly. The alcohol was starting to hit me. My body swayed unsteadily. A few handsome men were sitting at table 18, seeming to be in a serious discussion. They were clearly taken aback when they saw me approach. The one in the lead was leaning lazily against the sofa, playing with the wine glass in his hand. I glanced at him. He was obviously the one my roommates were talking about. Fueled by liquid courage, I leaned in close to his ear. "Hey, handsome, can I get your number?" Before the words were even out, my hand was suddenly grabbed. I was startled, and the alcohol buzz wore off by about 70%. I looked up in shock. The person in front of me was Leo. He pulled me away from the man, his eyes dark, his face displeased. He smelled strongly of alcohol. "So this is what you call writing your paper." The beat was strong and dense, and my heart was pounding. I steeled myself and waved my hands. No, I wrote half of it and then got called out. Only after I said it did I suddenly realize. What am I being so defensive about? What's wrong with me going out for a few drinks? What's our relation that you can question me like this? My confidence returned. I glared at him. "What, do I have to report every move to you?" With that, I tried to pull away and leave. I took 2 steps, turned back, and Leo was still standing there. Across the surging crowd, he was staring right at me. I started to feel a little guilty again. My roommates were also looking in my direction. I hadn't gotten the young Leo's number. I was definitely going to get roasted when I went back. I steeled my resolve and headed for the restroom. I was a little flustered, but for some reason, Leo's face kept popping into my mind. To be honest, he looked really handsome tonight. If I wasn't mistaken, I think I saw some pecs. I started to get lost in admiring Leo's handsome face. Without realizing, I actually laughed out loud. And so, I didn't notice the person who had suddenly appeared in front of me. I almost crashed into him. A tall figure was blocking my path. The newcomer's brows were furrowed, and he was looking at me without a word. His expression, was it hurt? Leo bent down to look me in the eye, his voice hoarse. "Chloe, you're a liar." I was at a loss. "Leo, You were a liar when we were kids. You only used me as a tissue when we watched movies, and then threw me away when you were done. And you're still a liar now. You lied about writing a paper, but you were actually trying to get another guy's number." His eyes seemed to be turning red. "You're just a heartless little liar."
When Leo mentioned being a tissue for a movie, a long-buried memory suddenly surfaced. I was only in the 2nd grade then. The school often organized field trips. At that time, I was the class tyrant. I shamelessly latched onto the quietest little boy in the class. When we planted trees, I made him help me plant my sapling. When we had picnics, I pestered him for his little homemade pancakes. He never liked me. Until one time, the school organized a movie screening in the auditorium. I begged him for a long time before he reluctantly sat next to me. The plot turned out to be so touching that I started bawling halfway through. I still remember the little boy next to me freezing for a moment. He searched all over himself but couldn't find a single tissue. Finally, as if he had made a great decision, he offered me his sleeve. Of course, I used it without any hesitation to wipe my tears and my nose. After that, his patience with me seemed to grow. He would always wait for me to walk home from school together. He would even offer up tasty afternoon snacks to me. But then my dad got a job transfer, I changed schools, and I never saw him again. Could it be? I looked at Leo as if I were seeing a ghost. I couldn't connect him with the skinny, shy little boy from my memory at all. I trembled as I spoke. Did you go to Greenwood Elementary? Leo's eyes were practically on fire. He said, word by word, "Where else?" "You're always like this. You ate my snacks, but you still wanted others. You saw mine, but you still wanted to see others. You have my number, but you still want others." He suddenly pinned my hands against the wall. I always like to leave without saying goodbye. His hot breath fanned across my ear. "This time, I'm not letting you get away." Spring arrived, the grass grew, and the willow trees sprouted new leaves. Leo and I went back to Greenwood Elementary. More than a decade had passed. Although the school had been renovated, the general layout was still the same. Leo pointed to the ping-pong tables by the playground. "Look, right here.
You were playing ping pong with Jake, and you made me run around and pick up the ball for you." I looked ashamed. A moment later, he pointed to the trash can outside the restroom. He gave me a dark look. "Do you remember where your candy wrappers went? I was the one who threw them away for you. It was me." I was mortified. We walked to the front of the school building and he led me to the outdoor sinks. "Do you have any idea how hard it was to wash your snot out? It took me 10 minutes in the winter." I was utterly embarrassed. Then it hit me. "But you were the one who let me use it, right? If you were willing, then you can't blame it all on me." We bickered as we walked to the flower beds. Leo first wiped the dust off the edge for me. I sat down and suddenly remembered something. "How come I never saw your little childhood sweetheart back in elementary school?" Leo raised an eyebrow. "You mean Lauren?" I nodded. "I told you she wasn't my childhood sweetheart, and you didn't believe me." He sat down too. "She only moved here when we were in high school." I nodded thoughtfully. "Oh." Leo suddenly handed me something. It was a glass jar full of paper stars. A light blue ribbon was tied around the jar, looking a bit aged. I looked at Leo in surprise. "Is this for me?" Leo nodded. "I used to think you were really bossy, so I hated you. But after you used me as a tissue, I thought you were also kind of cute." His voice was muffled. "It's a shame I only folded half of them before you transferred." Something bloomed in my heart. Sour, yet intense. He smiled faintly. "But I did finish folding them later. Open one and see. I don't even remember what I wrote on them." I carefully opened the long sealed glass jar and took out the star on top. I unfolded it. The handwriting was childish, but the words were direct. October 21st. Chloe cried at the movie. What a crybaby. October 25th. Brought Chloe strawberries and an apple. She wouldn't eat the apple, so I ate it. November 5th. Chloe didn't come to school. November 7th. Chloe still isn't here. November 10th. The teacher said Chloe transferred. November 18th. Chloe is so mean. She didn't even say goodbye. November 20th. Fine. I forgive Chloe. My nose started to tingle. Why didn't you tell me? Leo drew out his words slowly. You know now, don't you? So, what do you think? Are you touched? If you get together with me, there will be even more touching moments in the future. He turned his head to look at me seriously. Think about it, Nurse Chloe. I laughed through my tears. Was there anything even to think about? With a face that handsome, how could I refuse? I feigned reluctance. Well, then I guess I'll have to reluctantly agree. After all, it's enough that I'm the only one who got to see it.